They say the week before your wedding is the most stressful time of your life. The last-minute details, the family drama, the cold feet, they're not wrong. But they never tell you that the stress might come from finding out your fiancé is replacing you with her work bestie. And they certainly don't tell you that your only comfort will be replacing your wedding venue with a 50-foot billboard. My story starts, as most of these do, with a love I thought was real. Her name was Clara. We met in the most ordinary way through mutual friends at a backyard barbecue. There was no lightning strike, no dramatic movie moment. It was simpler, and felt more real because of it. It was easy. We talked for hours, our conversation flowing like we'd known each other for years. She had this laugh that wasn't loud or booming, but it filled whatever space she was in. It made you want to be the reason for it. We dated for 4 years. 4 years of building a life. We moved in together, adopted a goofy golden retriever named Buster, and argued about stupid things like who left the milk out. We talked about the future like it was a place we had already bought tickets to. A little house with a blue door, 2 kids, maybe 3. It was our script, and we were sticking to it. The proposal was perfect, at least I thought so. On our 4th anniversary, I took her to the same park where we had our 3rd date. I was a nervous wreck, the ring box feeling like a 10-pound weight in my pocket. But when I got down on one knee, the look in her eyes was all the confirmation I needed. She cried. I cried. And for a moment, the world was just us. The wedding planning started almost immediately. Clara was in her element. She had binders, spreadsheets, and a level of organizational skill that both terrified and impressed me. We chose the venue together, a stunning rustic estate called the Crestwood. It had rolling hills, an old oak tree perfect for the ceremony, and a grand hall with floor-to-ceiling windows. It was expensive, ridiculously so. We had to drain a significant chunk of our savings for the deposit, but we agreed it was worth it. It was our one big splurge, the foundation for the first day of the rest of our lives. About 6 months before the wedding, she started talking more about Leo. Leo, her work bestie. At first it was innocent. Leo and I totally nailed that presentation today. Leo told the funniest story. You had to be there. I was happy for her. It's good to have friends at work, people you can rely on. I'm not the jealous type, or so I told myself. I trusted her. Trust was the bedrock of our relationship. But slowly, things began to shift. The mentions of Leo became more frequent, more intimate. The texts on her phone buzzed late into the night. When I'd ask who it was, she'd wave a hand dismissively. Oh, just Leo. We're brainstorming for the new project. The late nights at the office became more common. We're just trying to hit this deadline, she'd say, coming home exhausted but with a strange energy I couldn't quite place. There were little inside jokes I wasn't privy to, shared glances over dinner with friends when a topic related to their work came up. I started to feel like a third wheel in my own relationship. I brought it up once gently. I told her I felt a little left out, that it seemed like she and Leo were living in a world I wasn't allowed into. She got defensive. He's just my friend, she said, her voice sharp. Are you saying I can't have male friends? That's so insecure. I thought you were better than that. The words stung. She was right. It did sound insecure. So I buried my feelings. I told myself I was being ridiculous, that the wedding stress was making me paranoid. I was the one with the problem, not her. I doubled down on being the supportive fiancé. I brought her dinner at the office, and I'd see them, heads together over a laptop, laughing. Leo would give me a friendly, confident smile. He was handsome. I couldn't deny that. The kind of effortlessly charming guy you see in cologne ads. He'd clap me on the shoulder and say, "You're a lucky man. This one's a keeper." And I'd smile back, feeling a knot tighten in my stomach. The week before the wedding arrived, our house was a chaotic mess of gift boxes, seating charts, and stray pieces of tulle. My parents were flying in. Her family was already in town. The excitement was palpable. Everyone was buzzing. Everyone but Clara. She seemed distant, lost in her own head. I chalked it up to pre-wedding jitters. It's normal, I told her, wrapping my arms around her. We're about to take a huge step. She just nodded, her eyes looking somewhere over my shoulder. The moment my world shattered came on a Tuesday, 5 days before we were supposed to say I do. I came home early from picking up my suit. I walked in the door and heard her voice from the home office. She was on a video call. I smiled, thinking she was coordinating with the florist or the caterer. I walked quietly down the hall, planning to surprise her with a hug. As I got closer, I heard her say, I know. I just have to get through this week. It feels impossible." I paused, my hand on the doorframe. A male voice replied. A voice I knew all too well. It was Leo. "You don't have to do anything you don't want to do, Clara. It's not that simple," she sighed. "Everything is paid for. Everyone is here. How do I even begin to explain this?" My heart started to pound. "Explain what?" Then Leo's voice came through the speaker, soft and persuasive. "You just tell him the truth, that you're not in love with him anymore, that you're in love with me." There was a silence that stretched for an eternity. I stood there, frozen, unable to breathe. My entire body went cold. This had to be a misunderstanding, a sick joke. Then Clara spoke, and her words were the nails in the coffin of the life I thought we were building. "I know," she whispered. "I love you too, Leo. It's just he's such a good person. He doesn't deserve this, and you deserve to be happy." Leo said. "We deserve to be happy. The timing is terrible, but the feeling is real. Just get through the next few days. We'll figure out the rest together. I'll be waiting." I couldn't hear any more. I backed away from the door, my legs shaking so badly I had to lean against the wall. The house, filled with the happy evidence of our upcoming wedding, suddenly felt like a tomb. Every picture of us on the wall, every gift-wrapped box, was a monument to a lie. I stumbled into the living room and sank onto the couch, my head in my hands. I don't know how long I sat there. It could have been minutes or an hour. When she finally came out of the office, she had a placid smile on her face. "Hey, you're home early," she said, her voice a little too bright. I looked up at her. I couldn't speak. My face must have said it all, because her smile faltered. "What's wrong?" "I heard you," I managed to choke out. "On the call, with Leo." The color drained from her face. For a moment she looked like a cornered animal. The denial came first. "What are you talking about? That was a work call." "Don't lie to me, Clara," I said, my voice cracking. "Don't. Not anymore." I heard everything. The fight went out of her. She sank onto the armchair, across from me, and put her face in her hands. The tears came, but they didn't evoke any sympathy from me. Not this time. All I felt was a hollow, echoing emptiness. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I never meant for you to find out this way." "When were you planning on telling me?" I asked, my voice devoid of emotion. "After the wedding? On our honeymoon? Or were you just going to let me live a lie for the rest of my life?" "I don't know," she cried. "It just happened. Me and Leo, we connected on a different level. We didn't mean for it to go this far." "A different level?" I scoffed, the sound bitter. "You mean the level where you cheat on your fiancé a week before your wedding?" She couldn't meet my eyes. She just kept repeating, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." The final blow came when I asked the question that had been screaming in my mind. "Do you love him?" She hesitated, and in that hesitation, I got my answer. But she said it anyway, her voice barely a whisper. "Yes." I stood up. "Get your things," I said, the calmness in my own voice scaring me. "Get your things and get out of my house." "Where will I go?" she asked, looking up at me, lost. "I'm sure Leo will be waiting," I said, the words tasting like acid. She left. She packed a single bag, tears streaming down her face, and walked out the door, leaving behind 4 years of memories and a house full of wedding decorations. The silence she left behind was deafening. I spent the rest of the night in a daze, walking from room to room, touching the objects of a future that had just been stolen from me. The tuxedo in my closet, her wedding dress, still in its pristine white bag, hanging on the back of the door, the guest book, with its empty pages. The next morning, the numbness began to recede, replaced by a cold, hard wave of reality. I had to cancel a wedding. I started with the phone calls. My parents, her parents, those were the hardest. The confusion, the disbelief, the hurt in their voices. Then I moved down the list. The florist, the band, the photographer. Each call was a fresh stab of humiliation. Unforeseen circumstances, I'd say, my voice a monotone. Then I called the caterer. "I'm sorry, sir, but the cancellation is too late. The food has been ordered. We can't provide a refund." That was a few $1,000s. Gone. The final call was to the venue, the Crestwood. the place where our dreams were supposed to begin. I explained the situation to the events manager, a woman with a brisk, no-nonsense voice. I asked about the possibility of a refund, even a partial one, given the circumstances. Her answer was immediate and cold. "I'm very sorry to hear that, sir. However, as per the contract you signed, the final payment was non-refundable within 30 days of the event. You paid in full last month. There's nothing I can do." I was stunned. "But we're talking about over $20,000. The event isn't happening. You won't have any cost for staff or cleaning. A contract is a contract, sir," she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. "The date was reserved for you. We turned away other potential clients for that day. The fee is for the reservation of the space itself." "I'm sorry." She wasn't sorry. She was just reading a script. I hung up the phone, my hand trembling. The sheer brutal injustice of it all hit me like a physical blow. Not only had my heart been ripped out, but my savings had been stolen too. Clara and Leo were off starting their new life, free and happy, and I was left with a broken heart and a $20,000 hole in my bank account for a party that would never happen. I sat there, staring at the contract for the Crestwood that was still sitting on our coffee table, and that's when I saw it. A line in the fine print. "The client, having paid in full, has exclusive rights to the use of the contracted space and its included amenities for the agreed-upon date and time." The space and its included amenities. An idea began to form in my mind. It was a crazy idea, a bitter, vengeful, and possibly insane idea. But in that moment, it felt like the only thing that made sense. The venue manager said, "I paid for the space." She said I had the rights to it for Saturday. She didn't say I had to have a wedding there. And one of the included amenities I had specifically asked about during our tour was the massive state-of-the-art digital display board at the entrance to the estate. It was meant for a welcome to the wedding of Clara and my name message, with a nice smiling photo of us. I had paid for the venue. I had paid for the amenities. That included the digital display. So I wasn't going to have a wedding. Fine. But I was going to use the space I paid for. I was going to use that big, beautiful, expensive screen. I spent the next 2 days fueled by a strange mix of grief and adrenaline. I ignored the hundreds of texts and calls from confused friends and relatives. I let my parents handle the "we're not ready to talk about it" messages. My focus narrowed to a single point. My plan. First, I needed a message. It couldn't be a long, rambling paragraph. It had to be short, sharp, and devastating. It took me an hour of pacing around the empty house, but I finally landed on the perfect words. Second, I needed a picture, and I knew exactly which one. A few months ago, Clara's company had a team-building retreat. She had posted a bunch of photos online. In one of them, she and Leo were standing next to each other, a little too close, both of them beaming at the camera. At the time I thought it was just a nice picture of two colleagues. Looking at it now, it was a confession. Their body language, the way he was looking at her, it was all there. I saved the photo. It was public on her social media. Fair game. The final piece was the execution. I called the Crestwood again. This time, I didn't ask for the events manager. I asked for the tech support guy, who handled the digital displays. I got him on the line. A young-sounding guy named Kevin. I put on my most cheerful, upbeat voice. "Hey Kevin," I said. "My wedding is this Saturday. There's been a bit of a change of plans. A surprise actually. And I need your help to make it perfect." He was happy to help. I told him I wanted to change the welcome message on the digital board. I explained that I wanted to put up a special tribute. I emailed him the image and the text I had prepared. I held my breath, waiting for him to question it. "Huh," he said, after a moment. "Okay, a little unusual, but sure. You want this to go live at 1 p.m. on Saturday and run for the rest of the day?" "That's right," I said, my heart hammering. "Can you make sure it's set up and automated? I want it to be a surprise for everyone." "No problem, man," he said. "Consider it done. And hey, congratulations." "Thanks," I said, and hung up before my voice could betray me. The day of what was supposed to be my wedding was surreal. I woke up to a perfectly sunny sky, the kind of beautiful day you pray for. I put on a pair of jeans and a plain black t-shirt. I got in my car, Buster in the passenger seat, and I drove. I didn't drive to the Crestwood. I drove to a quiet hill about a half-mile away, a spot that had a clear view of the estate's entrance. I parked the car, rolled down the windows, and I waited. Around 12:30 p.m., the guests started to arrive. Cars and cars of them, all dressed in their finest. My friends, her friends, our families. I watched them pull up to the grand gates, their faces filled with happy anticipation. I saw them slow down, confusion replacing their smiles. They were probably wondering why there were no ushers, no music. Then at exactly 1 p.m., the giant digital screen flickered to life. Even from a distance, it was glorious. The picture was crystal clear, Clara and Leo smiling, arm in arm. And above the picture, in massive, elegant script, the same font we had chosen for our wedding invitations, were the words I had so carefully crafted. Congratulations to Clara and Leo. And below the picture, the final devastating line. She said yes to him a week before she was supposed to say yes to me. All the best, her ex-fiancé. I watched as car after car stopped dead in the road. I could imagine the scene up close. The stunned silence, the slow, horrified realization, the frantic pulling out of phones, the murmurs turning into a roar of gossip and scandal. My phone, which had been on silent, began to vibrate so violently on the passenger seat that it buzzed against the dashboard. I didn't need to look at it. I knew who it was. I stayed there for another hour, just watching the chaos unfold. Cars turning around, people getting out to talk to each other, in shocked huddles. It was a train wreck, and I had orchestrated it. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt quiet. The roaring storm inside me had finally fallen silent. I had paid $20,000 for a wedding. Instead, I got closure. When I finally picked up my phone, there were 97 missed calls, and over 200 text messages. Most were from Clara and Leo. I opened one from her. "How could you do this to me? You're a monster. You've ruined my life." I typed back a single sentence. "No, Clara." I just held up a mirror. Then I blocked her number. I blocked Leo's number. I turned off my phone, started the car, and drove away, not once looking back in the rearview mirror. The story, of course, went viral in our town. The picture of the billboard was everywhere. People I barely knew were talking about it. Clara and Leo became infamous. They had wanted to start their new life together. Well, they got to, but not in the way they imagined. They were no longer the secret, passionate office romance. They were the office scandal. Their work bestie narrative was shattered, replaced by the truth, a messy, cruel affair. According to a mutual friend, who couldn't resist giving me an update, their relationship crumbled under the weight of the public scrutiny within a few months. Their love, born in secrecy and lies, couldn't survive the harsh light of day. I thought that would be the end of it. I started putting my life back together, piece by piece. I sold the house, moved to a smaller apartment across town, and focused on my work and taking Buster for long walks. The pain was still there, a dull ache in my chest, but it wasn't all-consuming anymore. Then about 6 months after the billboard incident, I received an anonymous email. The subject line was just, "The Crestwood." I opened it. The message was short. "You think you know what happened, but you don't know the half of it. You weren't his first." Attached was a link to a private blog. My curiosity got the better of me, and I clicked. It was written by a woman. She detailed her story of dating a wonderfully charming, ambitious man from her office. How he swept her off her feet. How he was her best friend. How he convinced her to leave her long-term stable boyfriend for him, promising her the world. The man's name was Leo. I scrolled through post after post. It was a pattern. Leo was a predator. He targeted women in committed relationships, positioned himself as the sympathetic work bestie, and exploited their moments of doubt or unhappiness. He created a fantasy, a what-if scenario, and sold it to them. Once he had won, once the woman had upended her life for him, the thrill was gone. He would grow distant, cold, and eventually move on to the next target at the office, leaving a trail of broken relationships and careers in his wake. His last post was about a new woman at his company he was becoming good friends with. Her name was Clara. Reading it, a strange feeling washed over me. It wasn't relief. It was a deep, chilling understanding. Clara hadn't just left me. She had been poached. She was a victim in her own way, manipulated by a serial emotional homewrecker. My billboard hadn't just been revenge on my cheating fiancé. It had been an unintentional public service announcement. It had exposed Leo for what he truly was, breaking his pattern in a way he could never recover from. My friend told me he'd been fired shortly after their breakup. His position at the company made untenable. My revenge, born from pure selfish heartbreak, had accidentally served a greater purpose. It had stopped him. I never replied to the email. I just deleted it, knowing the whole truth didn't erase my pain, but it reframed it. It was no longer a simple story of a girl who fell out of love with me, and in love with someone else. It was a story of manipulation, of betrayal on multiple levels. I don't know what happened to Clara, and I don't care to find out. I hope she learned from it. I hope she's healing, just as I am. My billboard at the Crestwood wasn't my proudest moment. It was a dark, angry act. But it was also the moment I stopped being a victim. It was the moment I took the narrative of my life back. Sometimes, the only way to move on from a spectacular disaster is to light a match, walk away, and learn to live with the glow of the fire in your back. I lost a fiancé and $20,000, but in the end, I think I saved myself. Thank you for listening to my story. It's a strange and painful part of my past, but sharing it feels like the final step in closing that chapter. If you've ever been through a painful betrayal, I hope you know you're not alone. If you enjoyed the story or could relate in any way, please hit the like button, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And if you know someone who might need to hear this, don't hesitate to share the video. It can make a world of difference. Thank you.